Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we have Fnatic.Rain here spawning as our green Terran at the left-hand side of the map, and it is dual site. And we have Merz going to be the yellow Terran on the bottom, on the, the right side of the map.
Yes, indeed. So, Merz versus Rain. Merz actually taking down Rice pretty convincingly. It was just a straight-up macro war and then go. Primarily bio compositions, even without the use of tanks.
Really unconventional.
Yeah.
I was not expecting a bio versus bio army. Remember at the beginning I was like, Cats, what do you think we're going to see? We were talking about tanks, blue flame hellions, nuclear missiles, all this stuff, and then when it came down to it, it was just a bunch of Marines.
It really was. Marines are a pretty good unit,
they're pretty good.
Stacked against slightly more Marines, they're not as effective. So, we are playing on dual side, as you mentioned before. I love this map, except for the goofy, ridiculous Xel'Naga towers. I have no idea why those make me cringe so much. Other than that, I love this map.
It kind of looks like a Venus flytrap, doesn't it?
Yeah, a little bit.
Like the miniaturized version of a gateway. You fly over it, goes, it's like captures you. Anyways, very interesting Xel'Naga tower doodad right there. Well, let's just see what happens this game. It is going to be another Terran versus Terran. What do you think we're going to see this time, Cat?
I honestly think we're going to see Blue Flame Hellions this time around. The walk distance is a lot shorter, so Blue Flame Hellion control of the map is pretty essential. And we'll find out what both these players offer in a bit, although it looks like Rain is going to offer a no-gas fast expand to start the game, and certainly a marked difference from his stereotype, which is, of course, the very, very all-in style player.
Yeah, it looks like he is going to go for a gasless FE here. We'll see what he decides to throw down that command center, or if, I would like to see if he gets that one gas at all, but it doesn't look like he is. He's just got one Marine coming out right now, and you know, both players actually going for a pretty similar style, except for the fact that Merz does have his gas running.
Well, yeah, Merz is, I don't think he's going to try any sort of Triple Reaper shenanigans this game around. I think he's going to go right into Blue Flame Hellions, although it could certainly be thrown off. We'll find out. Rain being very pesky with his scout, making sure nothing weird comes out. Marine sending a little bit of a chase, and that SCV, yeah, that Marine was actually being pulled pretty far out of position. That SCV actually has opportunity to run back in and escape. Oh, wow.
You take it back?
I do. Well, kind of, because we have a reactor coming down on the first barracks, right? And we do have a second barracks opening for Merz.
Yeah, so Merz this time isn't going to open up with Reapers right away because he's got the reactor core down, but once again, really interesting that he's deciding to open up with that barracks, a second barracks inside his base before anything else, which kind of tells me that he might be doing the same thing again. He might be just going for a mass Marine build, which I don't know if it's going to work that well against Rain. Rain is such a, I hesitate to say it, but superior Terran player, and I don't know if this mass Marine comp is going to work, especially considering Rain probably observed the last game and has everything jotted down.
Well, it could be something similar to like what we saw, or what we would normally see against a Protoss player. It could be
2 racks
some
expand.
sort of a, 2 racks expand. It depends on the upgrade right now. If he goes straight for Stim, he's actually going for Combat Shield, so he's going to try and pull off a timing here with pretty aggressive amount of Marines and then expand behind it.
Yeah, you could pull off a timing with Stim Pack too, though.
Yeah, it takes a little bit longer. The Combat Shield one is going to come much, much earlier, and it's going to, I mean, you got to think about it. For every basically 5 Marines that you make, you've made an extra one over your opponent before a Combat Shield has come out. So if he makes a big timing here, ooh, actually a couple of Marauders coming down as well. He's going to be able to inflict some damage. Yeah,
that's really confusing. If he's getting the Combat Shield upgrade, but then produces a Marauder, I would almost say then just get Stim Pack and produce a Marauder. I don't know. We'll just have to see what happens. I'm not a super good Terran player or anything like that, but this is going to be very interesting to see what Merz decides to do with his Combat Shield upgrade with a Marauder as well. We now have Rain getting his own Combat Shield upgrade at the same time, and actually the one thing that Combat Shield really does help against is Blue Flame Hellions, reducing the amount of hits a Marine has to take before it dies. Yeah,
well, it looks like Merz making his way out, and is Rain going to be prepared for this? He only has a couple small token force on the map, and Merz is going to try and track that down. Only 10 seconds till Combat Shield finishes, and it is quite far away for Rain. He's actually moving a few units out of position here, may try to swing in, but of course, Merz is going to be pretty prepared with his defense. This is really going to come down to whether Rain can establish his bunker or not. This could be pretty bad. Here comes Merz.
Yeah, here comes Merz. I'm pretty sure Rain will be able to hold this off. Oh, he's going to lose a lot of SCVs, though. A couple of SCVs coming down the ramp to help defend. Those Marines holding the high ground. The bunker's almost done, guys. So as soon as that bunker finishes, the Marines will be able to hop inside, and that was really close.
It was really close.
The units are now inside the bunker, and that's huge. That is going to provide enough defense for Rain to hold on.
If he would have walked in quite literally 2 seconds earlier, he would have stopped that SCV and forced another one to come over and would have been able to neutralize all of the Marine numbers before they got into the bunker. That was critical. Merz going to make his way back now. Unfortunately, Rain going to lose a few more units, basically for free, actually.
Yeah, Rain was actually trying to retreat right there with those lone Marines that he sent out. Ended up running into the attacking party that was pulling back. Merz actually doing a lot of damage to Rain in this game, and I think he is ahead.
But a big thing there was that he did, even though he killed a couple of SCVs, he killed a lot of units, but didn't do a ton of economic damage. So Rain, with that much earlier orbital command, has actually been quad-producing mules for a little while, and his economic rate consequently is almost double that of Merz.
You mean dual-producing mules?
Well, I mean, he has 4 down at the same time right now, because you can put down another mule slightly before the one expires, so he has 4 down at a time.
Yeah, he has.
I apologize.
Yeah, he has a booming economy right now.
Yeah, he really does.
However, Merz with a larger army is going to be able to secure that natural quicker than Rain will. Yeah. That means he's going to have additional mineral patches free for him to mine from, and here he comes transferring those SCVs over. So, you know, I think the damage that Merz did in the beginning of the game has helped him equalize a little bit. The fact that Rain went for that orbital command right away in the beginning, and if anything, both players here are very, very even. Harvesters at 30 apiece, both players having their 2 bases at about the same time. Production and armies showing the both players about the same, and I honestly think it's a pretty fair game from here on out.
And it's really going to come down to infrastructure and upgrades at the moment. Rain already is moving into siege tank production and medevacs, whereas old Merz, he's just now putting up his starport. He's actually putting down a reactor on his factory, so he's going to swap these in just a minute. So he's going for a pure biocomposition, whereas Rain is going to be pretty well prepared with a huge number of tanks.
Yeah. We'll have to wait and see what happens. Here comes Merz. He's got a couple Marines and Marauders pushing out across the map. He still has a larger bio ball, I have to say, and so he can definitely take control of the center of the map, especially considering there's no tanks in play yet. It looks like Rain was gearing up for an 8 Marine drop there. That is going to mean that he has no forces on the ground, so he has to pull back, ceding map control over to Merz. And Merz now finally getting his starport done. I think he's going to get some dropships out. Yes, the starport is done. Dropships are now on the way, but Rain does have tanks out way earlier than Merz does.
Right, and that's what I was referring to earlier, because if, especially Siege Mode is going to finish here in about 50 seconds, and if Merz decides to attack into any sort of established position that Rain has up, those numbers are going to disappear and in a hurry. In fact, Rain has actually pulled ahead in supply overall. Both players still basically dead even on workers. So I think right now this favors Rain.
Merz is actually still ahead in supply.
Yeah. Oh, well, just a second ago. I mean, it's trading back and forth. Just a second ago, Rain was ahead by 1 supply, but it's totally insignificant at the moment. It's mostly that tech advantage, and here we go, a little bit of a drop into the main, and SCVs are forced away. There was pretty good reaction time out of Merz. Is he going to be able to pick off the medevac? No, the medevac is going to get away.
Yeah, the medevac does get away. I love it, man. You're like, SUVs managed to get away? Sports utility vehicles here. I make that mistake all the time, man. It's pretty awesome stuff.
Well.
Hey, here comes the dropship going in once again. Gonna try to get some SUV kills. Oh no, that's the other dropship.
Yes.
Okay, so the dropship's still hiding over in the top right-hand corner. One thing that isn't working out too well for Merz here is his tanks don't have siege mode yet, and that could prove to be pretty disastrous when the 2 armies engage.
And looks like
they are going
here comes
to.
Rain making his way
Oh
up.
My god, he's stimmed! He has to engage here! Is he gonna be able to break the tanks?
Oh, the tanks have already gotten about 7 or 8 kills between them.
I think he's gonna do it!
Rain is going to lose all of his units there. Is he backstabbing at the same time? He is.
But it looks like Merz has that all covered, and it looks like the dropship is going to go down, and I can't believe it. Merz, I think, coming out in a decent advantage here. Not like anything stomping Rain out of the game, but certainly holding off both fronts very well, and Merz doing a pretty damn good job.
And it looks like just 1 tank up again for Rain. He is going to double factory here for a second. I don't think any players put up a 3rd command center quite yet, so neither player is going to try and expand out of this. excuse me, looks like we are just going to have a little bit of a slugfest for a little while. There we go. Now the command center coming up for Merz.
One thing that's really important to note too is when two big armies collide and engage and both armies wipe each other out, as we just saw right there, the one who loses his tanks, which Rain did, that's a much bigger setback than losing your entire bio army such as Merz, because tanks take so much longer to produce in comparison to bio. So I really think Rain took a big hit now. I mean, as you guys can see now, Rain can't push out. He's confined to controlling just a defensive position at front of his natural, and that's big. That's bad.
But it is a pretty good defensive position, and he's double producing tanks, so he already has double the amounts that Merz has out on the field. Rain's got to get this tank away. This Marine is going to fall, and it looks like Merz is going to try and push up. He scans, though, and I don't think he can move into that position.
But he can siege up and establish some kind of a contain over here with his two tanks. However, it looks like Rain may be thinking about breaking that contain. Those tanks are just barely outside the range here. And both players do have spotting units, but no real anti-air. So it does mean that the tanks will not be able to basically abuse that 1+ side advantage you get when you have Vikings. And oh my god, it looks like Rain here is going to push forward. He's going to go for the break here, and I think he's got enough forces to do it. Both tanks explode immediately, and Rain taking a huge advantage.
Yeah, he really did. Merz, I think his attention was elsewhere, because if you notice, the siege tanks were targeting the siege tanks from Merz were targeting the siege tanks of Rain. Instead of going after the Bioforce, we also have a drop here into the main at the same time, but it looks like Rain is going to be prepared for this, bringing a few units back here. But getting back to what I was saying before, Merz was targeting the siege tanks out of Rain rather than the big clump of bio units that was coming up. So those bio units suffered no damage whatsoever from the siege tanks of Merz. That allowed the siege tanks from Rain to outrange all the rest of the bio units and start doing some significant damage. So Merz, I think his attention was just a little bit elsewhere.
Yeah, that was really a bit of an overcommitment, I think, from Merz. I don't think he needed to set up such a far away contain, really. That was just so risky. And I think he paid the ultimate price. He lost his entire army, and Rain still has all of his tanks in position here, and just like that, the advantage of this game thrown right back into Rain's hands, and I think Rain is in a good position.
Yeah, but Rain is up in army but down in economy at the moment, so if he's not able to inflict economic damage with this push right here, he's going to find himself in a little bit of a tough spot. Now, he does have his next command center done. He's lifting it down to the bottom right-hand corner, but he's pushing up at the same time with the vast majority of his forces, and here we go. Is Merz going to siege up? He is, and it looks like Rain is going to go right around the side.
Oh, that's huge. There's only one tank there. That is huge. And all the bio just committing themselves. Oh my goodness, those 6 tanks in the back getting a huge shellacking on those Marines. Merz cannot afford to engage into that position, and I think Rain has a very powerful contain setup.
But Rain did take a lot of losses himself, but he is breaking this position, as you mentioned. He doesn't lose the medevac, though, because the medevac was within range of those siege tanks, and Merz would have lost just as many forces as he killed right there. So, tanks are in position for Rain. If he slowly starts leapfrogging those forward, he can push and break the connection in between the natural and the third, which is actually going to be pretty big. Looks like Rain going to try and drop directly onto the siege tank, but the rest of the units are making their way in, but now in position of the siege tanks of Rain.
Actually, you know what? I feel like Merz has an opportunity. No, not anymore. He had an opportunity to actually shuttle all of his forces over the tanks, but now with additional Marines arriving, that is not going to be possible. And another tank sniped by Rain. Rain just doing a beautiful job of calculating positions to attack, picking off the most expensive gas high unit such as the tank, and now he's established a beautiful contain, separating and segregating the two bases of the Terran player Merz, and Merz here is finding himself in a position where he just doesn't know what to do.
Yeah, and Merz, even through this process, was actually pulling farther ahead in supply, surprisingly, but because of the superior position of Rain, it's going to be extremely difficult for Merz to try and break. He loses all of his forces on the left-hand side. That supply advantage has flipped, and it looks like Rain is going to make a push in to completely end this game. He is starting to camp production structures now, and very soon economy is going to come under fire.
Incredible decision-making from Rain right there against Merz. I mean, Merz had all the advantages going for him into the mid-game, and Rain just made a really nice attack here. Beautiful pull from Merz. Is he going to be able to break the tanks with all of his SCVs? My goodness, it's a mass militia army, and it doesn't look like it's going to be enough. Rain is going to hold down, and Rain is going to win the game with just superior decision-making and tactical awareness. And last couple of units coming out now for Merz. Is Rain reinforcing a few units, but it looks like he's gearing up for another big push here in a bit. Oh, wow, it actually didn't matter. He had enough to just kill off the rest of the forces from Merz. Merz down to just 29 workers. He has lost 57 this entire game. Well, that
is devastating.
Pulling of all of his SCVs.
And there's a GG well played.
Yeah, there's a GG well played.